down 28, right? So that's 10% down. So they can recognize that 10% of the revenue, okay? So the percentage of completion method, okay? So I just to give you an example. So in your scenario, okay, suppose that it's a standard 4 years program. In your planning, okay, when you, before you start university, you make a plan, right? You are going to say, you know, I want a steady progress, okay? A very steady process. So I need 40 courses to graduate. So I'm gonna, you know, do it evenly across the 4 years in your plan, right? So each year you take 10 courses, okay? Each year you take 10 courses, and then at the end of the first year, you finished all the 40 courses. However, things will change, right, in your life, right? Not everything is gonna fulfilled, revealed according to your plan. So actually, the courses taken in the first year is only 5 courses. Okay, you still want to travel around the world, right? So you only take 5 courses. Okay, that's the actual courses taken. Cumulative number of courses taken. This is the first year, so your cumulative number of courses taken is still 5. Percentage of completion, easy, right? 5 divided by 40. So cumulative number of courses completed to date divided by total courses. So your percentage completion is 5 over 40. That equals 12.5%. Okay, and now in the second year, suppose you realize, guess what? You know, I'm kind of a little behind on my schedule, so I'm gonna take more courses. So in the second year, take 12 courses. Okay, so by the end of the second year, the cumulative number of courses taken is 5 plus 12 equals 17. Okay, so percentage of completion is cumulative courses taken to date divided by total number of courses. So 17 divided by 40, that's 42.5%. Okay, so then you just keep going until at the end of the year 4, you catch up later on, you finished at 100%. Okay, do you have any questions on this in terms of the concept of percentage of completion?
Nothing here.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm fine.
It's good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Oops. So somebody have a question? So I have to take a look, see if anyone is in the waiting room, okay? Okay, so let's see, how can I see that? How come it's not popping out? Okay, here. Okay, good, nobody is in the waiting room, okay? Okay, good. So if you have no question, I will move on. No question? Okay, okay, so here, there are different types of contract, okay? Long-term contract can have different types of contract. The first type of contract is called a fixed price contract, okay? So the contractor agrees to a price before performance begins. Okay, so still using the Science Center at UofL as example. So a fixed price contract would be the construction company agreed with UofL for, let's say, $20 million price, okay? So that's a fixed price. UofL is gonna pay me, okay? I'm gonna build this building according to the plan, okay? I'm charging you a fixed price of 20 million, okay? So that's the fixed price contracts, okay? And also the second kind of contract is called cost plus contract, okay? So if I'm the construction company, I will not agree with you ahead of time with a fixed price. I'm going to say, so I'm going to charge you based on my cost, okay? So I'm gonna charge additional 5% margin on top of my cost. So if at the end of the construction, my cost is 10 million, okay? Let's say 100 million. I'm going to charge you 5% profit, gross margin. So that'll profit margin, that'll be 5%, right? That'll be 5 million. So the price would be 105 million in the end. So one is fixed, the other one is not fixed, depending on your cost and depending on the target profit margin. Now, the question is, which one of the two contracts is riskier for the contractor, for the construction company?
The fixed price.
Fixed price.
Fixed price, very good.
As a lot of things can go wrong during construction.
Very good, very good. Did anyone see this finger pointing? Maybe, does that help you answer this question? I was going to
No.
So the answer is the fixed price contract, right? It's riskier. So you know what happened once you start digging on the ground? Guess what? Building materials tripled. The price of the building materials tripled. That's what's happening right now, okay? You know the houses is quite expensive in the Greater Vancouver area. The new build houses is gonna even more costly, right? Because I think right now the building materials tripled, right? The cost. So then you calculated a fixed price, okay, based on the current cost of building materials, okay? You came up with this number, fixed price. But then once you start doing the job, guess what? Your cost going up, right? You will lose money. So it's more risk, right? All these things is beyond your control, right? You know, you have no control over the price of the construction materials, right? So if you agree with the fixed price, it's quite risky, right? It's quite risky. If the price goes down, then it's good for you, right? But if the prices go up, then you know that will eat up your margin, and you may also if the price go up too much, then you may at a loss position, right? In comparison, the cost plus contract is not taking the risk. Guess what? I don't know how much it's going to cost me, okay? But what I'm going to charge you is based on the actual cost, okay, plus a margin, right? At the end of the day, okay? So in this fixed price contract, the contractor is taking the risk, okay? In the cost plus contracts, okay, the customer is taking the risk. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Move on. The revenue recognition for the cost plus contract is very easy. Okay, this is very easy. So basically, you know, you just know the actual cost occurred and then do a very simple math calculation, right? This is one example. So this company agrees to construct a 360 condo, and so this is the cost plus contract. So the contract price is the cost plus 5%. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, so suppose in 2018, the actual cost at the end of the year is 24 million. Okay, how much revenue the company should recognize, the contractor? Well, okay, so you're going to charge the 24 million cost plus 5% of the actual cost, which is 1.2 million. So you're going to recognize the revenue of 25.2 million. Okay, so 24 is the actual cost. The other 1.2 is the 5% margin. Easy, simple. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so you wish that if all the contracts are cost plus contract, that would be awesome, right? Then we are done with this lecture. Okay, so here is the killer, right? Here's the killer, the fixed price contract. So we're gonna spend all the time to talk. We spend like 2 minutes on this cost plus contract, right? This is very easy. We're gonna spend the rest of the lecture just talking about the fixed price contract, okay? This one is a little bit trickier. Suppose this is one question, one example. Okay, suppose this is a 2-year contract. Okay, 2018, 2019. Okay, so the engineer, they are absolutely smart. They know for sure. Okay, no uncertainty. There's no uncertainty. They know for sure the percentage completion. For the first year is 30%. The second year is 70%. Okay, so that's easy. So how much revenue are you going to recognize, right? The first year I'm going to recognize 30%, right? My contract price is 120. 30% of 120, that is 36. And suppose the actual cost is 32. So my gross profit is the difference. 36 minus 32, that's 4. Right? So very similar, okay? 70% of 120, the contract price is 84. That's your revenue you're going to recognize. And suppose the actual cost is 68. So your revenue, your gross profit is the difference, 16. So you take the big picture, the total cost is 32 plus 68, 100, and the contract price is 120. So over the project, you have a total gross profit of 20, and out of which you recognize 4 in the first year, and the remaining 16 in the second year. Clear? Easy?
Yeah.
Yeah? Any questions on this?
No.
Okay, I'll move on. Okay, now, the engineer, in a more realistic situation, the engineer may not have a perfect estimate, right? Just like you, right? You think you will take 10 courses every year in your planning, in your estimation. You think you're going to take 10 courses evenly for the 4 years, okay? That's your original estimate. But the actual may different, right? So here's what happened. So this engineer, in the beginning, they think it's 30% and 70% split, okay? But there is uncertainty, okay? There is uncertainty. In most of the realistic situations, there is uncertainty in terms of the progress towards completion, right? You know, maybe it's because natural disaster, right? You cannot build your project at the same speed as you want, right? So suppose something happened, maybe COVID or whatever happened. So the progress is slowed down in the first year. So the actual estimate is 20% for the first year and 80% for the second year, okay? The same idea, the cost in the beginning you think is the 32 and the 68. In total cost is 100, right? But there's uncertainty in this scenario. So the actual cost will be different, right? The actual cost for the first year is only 24 because you didn't do too much work, right? In the beginning, you think it's a 30% progression. The actual progression is only 20%. Therefore, your cost will be also lower than what has been planned. 24, 80. The total cost is 104. It's higher than 100. The actual cost is over your budget, right? That's normal, right? That's just what happened in real life. So in this scenario, okay, the planning numbers, don't use planning numbers. That's my point. I use all these, you know, these wrong marks here. I want to make it very vivid to you. Don't use the planning numbers, okay? They are not actual numbers. When you do calculation, you use actual numbers, actual estimate of the progress and actual cost, okay? Use these numbers. So in this case, the contract price is still 120. The total actual cost, not planned cost, not estimated cost. the total actual cost is 24 plus 80, 104. Okay, that's the total actual cost. The total profit is the difference, 16. That need to be recognized over 2 years. Okay, does this make sense? You use the actual numbers, not the numbers on the planning stage, right? When you calculate your percentage of completion towards your degree, you do not use 10 over 40, right? That's what you planned. Your progress is not even. It's not 25% every year. You have to use the actual courses taken, right? Does this make sense before I move on?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, good. So I'll move on. So what happened is you're going to use the actual numbers. So that's the 20 and 80. Okay. So again, applying the percentage against your contract price. So the revenue for the year 2018 would be 24, right? So 20% times 120, that's 24. And 80% times 120, that's 96. That's how much revenue you're going to recognize for each year. And the cost, again, you use the actual cost, 2480. This is the actual cost. Don't use this 32 and 68, okay? So 24, the actual cost is 2480. So then the first year's gross profit is 0 because the revenue is 24, the cost is 24, so the profit is 0. The second year, revenue 80, revenue is 96, cost is 80, so your profit is 16. Remember I mentioned you are going to recognize $16 over 2 years, right? So in this case, the first year you recognize nothing, 0. You recognize the full amount of $16 in the second year. Does this make sense?
I have a question here. Why do you have 2 lines for the actual cost? Like, what's the difference between the C and the H?
Oh, very good. When you talk about the cost, the actual cost, so when I say cost of sales here, I'm more speaking of the income statement. Okay, so that's why I put them together. So I want to show you how I calculate the gross profit. So your cost of sales during the year is equal to the actual cost. That's a good question. So the cost of sales, so the gross profit equals revenue minus cost of sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point here I'm making, H equals C, is the cost of sales is equal to actual cost in the year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just presented the way that it's better for you to see the difference. Okay. But you make a good point. Yeah, I need to highlight this. This is very important. The cost of sales of income statement equals actual cost. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
The G, how come it's not D instead for the gross profit for current year? J equals G minus H.
How come it's not a D?
Yeah.
It should be D. I don't know where's G. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It must be a typo. Thank you very much, but I appreciate that. I think you really have the very good characteristics of being a professional accountant, which is pay attention to the details. Okay, very good. When we were students, when we are writing our resume, we are applying for jobs. We always put the line, I pay attention to details. Okay, so that's very good. So, thank you very much. So it's a typo. So I should use D, I think. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so in these 2 scenarios, somebody else has also helped you to figured out the progress, right? These numbers were given in the first two examples. So we are saying, you know, engineer, they know better, right? They can help us to estimate the percentage of completion. The question is how we can do the estimation, right? So one of the approaches is called cost-to-cost approach to estimate the percentage of completion. In this scenario, there's no engineer. Nobody is going to tell you what's the percentage of completion. We have to estimate on our own. Okay, so we're going to use this method called the cost-to-cost approach. So what do we mean? Okay, did you see this this bar? Okay, this red bar here. It looks like the battery charging, right? Okay, so basically we are talking about the full bar is 100%. Okay, and this red color shaded shape indicates the progress towards this. This is the kind of the end point, right? So basically, it's the cost-to-cost approach. So it's two cost numbers. So you use the cost incurred to date, okay, and divided by total estimated cost. Okay, that's the percentage of completion. Does that make sense? So I'm using cost. If this project is going to cost me $1 million, so far, I have spent $600,000. Okay, so up to this point, I have spent in total $600,000 cost. And the total expected cost of this project is $1 million. So what's my percentage of completion? You tell me?
60%.
60%, right? So you based on cost-to-cost approach. So there are two cost numbers. The numerator is the cost incurred to date. The denominator is total expected cost. Does this make sense? It's important you know this. If you don't know this, then later on when I'm going through an example, you will be totally confused. Okay, let's make sure you understand what I'm saying here. This is the way how we calculate the progress. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay, awesome. So now the revenue I recognized for current year. Okay, so I want to be more particular. Revenue. Oops, I cannot do it. Okay, that's why I didn't change it before. So in the current year, the amount of revenue I can recognize equals the revenue I should recognize up to this point minus the total revenue I recognized previously. Does that make sense? So I want to know up to this point, what is the total amount of revenue I should recognize up to this point? And then I subtract those revenues recognized in the previous years. The difference is the revenue I should recognize in current year. Okay, so it's kind of like one example is suppose I'm so up to this point I am 200 pounds. Okay, so I want to know how much weight I gained since the beginning of the year, right? Since the beginning of the year. So what should I do, right? I will say, well, what's my weight up to this point minus my weight at the beginning of the year, and the difference is the weight I gained in this year, right? So far. Does that make sense? So in this case, for the revenue, you want to know how much revenue I should recognize this year. So I want to know what's the total amount of revenue I should recognize up to this point. And then I subtract all the revenues I recognized already in the previous year. The difference is what I should recognize this year. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Awesome. So the percentage of revenue you should recognize up to this point is based on your progress, percentage of complete times the contract revenue. Okay. So that's this formula. Okay, so I will move on. So let's see one example. Assume a contract of $120 over 2 years, 2018, 2019. Now let's talk about for the year ended in 2018. Okay, let's talk about 2018. In this graph, okay, I spent some time to think about how I'm gonna make this graph. So I'm using these gray numbers means that these are the future events. There's uncertainty. This is the estimate. This arrow means the time point. So we are here. We are at the end of 2018, right? We are talking about the year 2018. So we are at the end of the 2018, right? Okay, and suppose we estimate, okay, in the 2019, the additional cost to complete is $72. Okay, so when I was at the end of the 2018, I estimate next year, 2019, the additional cost to complete the project is gonna be $72. Okay, does this picture make sense? So this black color means this is a real number, actual number. This green number means it's to come, estimation, right? This is, we are not here yet, okay? We are still standing at the end of 2018. So what's the estimate percentage of completion? Can anyone tell me? At this point, okay, what is the estimated percentage of completion for 2018?
20%.
Pardon me?
20%.
How did you calculate 20%?
24 divided by the contract price, 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so the percentage is cost to cost. So it's two cost numbers. It's not the contract price.
Oh, okay.
Remember I talked about
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, good. No problem. Anyone can tell me what is the estimated contract, the progress, the completion?
25.
Maybe 24 over 72.
25%.
25%. Okay, I heard someone say 25%. That's correct.
5%.
Yeah, that's
24 divided by
25%.
96.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you. So total expected cost is 96, 24 plus 72, right? That's the total expected cost, right? So the percentage of completion is the cost incurred to date here. Remember this time point here, 24 divided by total expected, 96. That's your 25%. Any questions here?
Sorry, how do you come up
So
with the
then,
number?
sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Ju.
I was asking, so if you have to calculate the total actual cost, then you just have to do it opposite way?
Total actual cost. So you know in 2018, the total cost is 24. This is the actual cost, okay?
Yeah.
But because you are at the end of 2018, you don't know the actual cost for 2019. You can only estimate. And suppose you estimate the additional cost to complete this 2-year project is $72, okay?
Okay.
So then your total expected cost would be the first year's actual plus the second year's estimate, right? So 24 plus 72, right? That's your best estimate. And so the percentage is 25%. This is really important. I'm not gonna move on unless everyone understands this, okay?
And yeah, I have a question too. So yeah, how did you estimate the $72? And the second question would be, So now you're at the end of 2018, and you know the first year is $24 actual cost. But at the beginning of 2018, you probably made an estimation for 2018, and one of the 24 is not 24. It was like 22.
Yeah,
Then
because I don't have to recognize revenue at the beginning of 2018, right? So I don't do this calculation in the beginning of 2018.
okay.
Right? The reason why I'm calculating the percentage of completion is because I'm trying to figure out how much revenue I need to recognize, right? At the beginning of 2018,
Oh yeah, for
you
2018,
don't
yes, yeah.
recognize any revenue. You haven't, right? The percentage is zero. The percentage at the beginning of 2018 is zero.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so the idea is you're trying to estimate the percentage of completion at the end of 2018.
Yes, right? Because that's the time I know my progress, right? That's the time I need to recognize my revenue. You cannot
Okay.
recognize the revenue at the beginning of 2018 because the percentage of completion is 0%.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah?
Yes. That was good. Yes.
Okay.
And how did you come up with the 72 number?
This number is given, so maybe the manager would have some experience. So in this question, this number is given. So in the real life, maybe the manager will have the manager of the project would have some experience in terms of the future cost.
Okay.
And they will estimate this number using their best judgment. Yeah.
Okay.
So this number is given. Okay, this number is given.
All right. Okay.
What if the actual cost is higher than 96?
Hey Claire, your voice is cut off. So can you please say again?
What if the actual cost is higher than 96? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you don't know, right? You don't know at the end of 2018, right?
No.
At the end of 2018, remember, this arrow is really important. This is the time point when we are talking about this. This is the time point we are doing the calculation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your best knowledge is this is your best estimate. This is your best judgment at this time point.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we are doing this revenue recognition at the end of 2018, right? I don't know what is going to happen in 2019. I will not know the actual cost because of uncertainty. So, but I can use my best estimate. So I estimate it's 72, right? So then based on these two numbers, you can calculate the percentage of completion.
So then does that mean that 2018 is your current year?
Oh yeah, what I'm talking about for the year of 2018, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying
and
to
then
figure
we're
it out.
estimating the year of 2018
Yes.
with the given numbers.
Yeah, because right now what I'm doing is, right now I'm at the end of the 2018, okay?
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out how much revenue I need to recognize.
Okay.
Yeah?
And once you get the actual cost, like that's when you have to like adjust the numbers.
Yeah, so I will show you, okay? Just be a little bit more patient. Very good question. I will show you that. But right now we are at the end of the 2018, okay?
Okay.
Good, very good. Anyone else have a question? Okay, so now it's easy. Revenue, okay, I'm going to use the 25% times the contract price, which is 120, minus the revenue has been recognized in the previous years, right? And the 2018 is the first year. No revenue is recognized in the previous years, right? So I recognize the $30. Okay? And cost of sales equals actual cost, right? So that's the $24. So my gross profit is $6, 30 minus 24. So before I talk about the 2019, do you have any questions?
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the question is about the revenue you calculated up there. So I just want to clarify this. the 24 divided by 96 multiplied by 120, they are together, right? So
Yes.
the result we get will deduct it from the previous year's revenue.
Yeah, so this is how much revenue I should recognize up to the end of 2018. Okay? So I'm going to minus all the revenues has been recognized before 2018, which is 0. So I know that in 2018, I should recognize 30 because 2018 is my first year. Okay, just hold on your question. It will be very clear when I move to the year 2019. If it still doesn't make sense, let's come back to your question, okay? So for year 2019, so now I'm here, right? Pay attention to my arrow. Okay, now I'm here at the end of 2019, right? So now I know that my actual cost is actually 80, right? But it doesn't matter. So that what's my total expected cost? What's my total cost?
104.
104. What's the percentage of completion?
100%.
Thank you. So total cost is 104 because now you are at the end of the project. You know everything for sure. So 24, 80 together is 104. So up to this point, your total cost incurred is 104. And your total cost is 104. So that's 100% completed, right? How much revenue you should recognize? So up to this point, you should recognize 100% of revenue. So 100% times 120. But you have recognized the 30 in 2018. So the difference is what you should recognize in 2019. So that's 90. The actual cost is 80. That's 80. So your gross profit is 10. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Tulu, does this make sense now?
My question was just about the order, like how do because if I deduct 120, the 30 from 120 before multiplying it by the answer, I would get something. I'm not really sure, like just the grouping of the calculation. So is it, am I grouping the 104 divided by 104 multiplied by 120 together and then subtracting it from the 130 from the answer?
Yeah.
Or do I subtract 130 from 120 first and then multiply my answer, multiplied by the first one?
Yeah, so you know the priorities in this kind of operators, right? So divisions and multiplications always take higher priorities than subtractions, unless you use bracket. So if I use a bracket, okay, so if I use a bracket here, then this, whatever this calculation within this bracket will take a priority. So you have to do this calculation first, okay? But if I don't have a bracket, so you do multiplications, divisions first, and then you subtract. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so now, because now you know the actual cost, right? Like 24.80. So now, like that percentage of the cost don't matter anymore, right? Like the 24, like now 24 over 104 is like 23%-ish, right? So that doesn't matter anymore, right? Like
yeah, you already recognize your previous recognition, right? Remember, basically, you are using your best estimate, right? This is the new information, so you don't have to go back to make adjustment.
Okay.
Remember, like when we talked about the change in estimate, right? You know, you have new information. Yeah, you know, our actual cost is 80, not 72, right? But the 72 is your best estimate last year. So there's nothing wrong when you calculate 25% using 72 last year. You don't have to go back to make adjustment. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you recognized, that's accepted because you are using your best judgment. That's correct number. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah. This is important. I want you to know this. Okay. Otherwise, I'm not going to move on. So if you have questions, please ask. If you understand, say yes.